Hey family, I came on right quick. One of my subscribers by the name of JESUSSWOOPE, and he sent me a video for me to sound off on it and, to give my spin and my take on it. And the name of the video in which um, I'm going to attach this video to his video. It is called 70%, hold on, just look and see. It's called 70% of black kids are born out of wedlock. And that's my boy right there. Okay, now, my take on it is, I believe that the family structure has really broken down because a lot of people just are losing out on their worth. They don't know. And then I believe it's generational because, like you did say in the video, back in the 60s and the 70s and all that stuff, there was a difference. All of us had two parents in the house. I was born in 71, and both of my parents were together until their passing. So I think the kids that were born up into the 80s, the 80s is when things started to take a change. And that's when a lot of the drugs and shit like that was really, it was a beast. That's when folks was on that angel dust and, PCP and, all kind of Mickey Mouse and all that other bullshit that was jumping off back then. And so that's when crack was at its height. And so, in my opinion, I think that, people begin to get loose. And a lot of women begin to get really, really loose because they were chasing that dope, And so, that is when, kids begin to start getting born out of wedlock. And then if you notice, but the kids that were born in the 80s, that's when all of this Ritalin and all this bullshit started coming in. And they were saying ADHD, ADD, and all that other stuff that was jumping off, y'all. I'm watching, I like the little sister from Glee. Hold on, let me see if y'all can see y'all. Beautiful, just beautiful. But a lot of that stuff, I think, in my opinion, all of it stems from the 80s when the dope game got really, it was on a war path. And a lot of women just began to get really loose. And they was chasing that dope. And then a lot of the bros began to, try to get into the dope game and start slanging and selling dope. And shit just became real loose, and so the children that that were born in the 80s, oh my God. A lot of those kids is, their minds was tweaked, and then they start trying to figure out how these kids are this way and all this other kind of stuff. And then Ritalin came on the scene in the 90s and all that stuff, and I seriously believe that it came down to dope because, and not only that, but, it's a different day and time as well, though, because back then, the economy is based on that day and time, but, there was a time when, women stayed at home and reared their children, and men were out, and they, made the money for the home. They were the breadwinners, and women were pretty much the managers of the home and managed the funds and all those type of things. Well, I think that it was also a breakdown in that as well because if you look back at those old relationships like that, like my parents and stuff, men were very, very giving. They would give their wives their full paychecks and allow them to go and take care of everything, and they pretty much just gave them, the wives pretty much gave those husbands allowances. And then the men also, they allowed whatever mama said, whatever your mama said, whatever your mama said, you know what I mean? And I think also in the drug era, when all this drugs and shit, a lot of men start losing respect for women because women begin to get loose, chasing that dope, and they begin to disrespect themselves with their bodies, with their mannerisms, their ethics, their values, all that shit just went to the wayside. So I believe that, you know, a lot of what's going on, if the women aren't strong, then the whole dynamics of structure breaks down. I seriously believe that. If wherever there's a very, very strong woman, the household is pretty intact when she's strong, and especially if she have a man that loves her. Because nowadays, you know, there's a lot of women out here that, you know, in defense to the sisters though, because men have lost so much respect for women. It's like we are tokens to a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? And